Hello everyone, my name is Fana Horia, and in this video today, me and my group mate Felicia and Adrian will be presenting to you about Yogyakarta as tourist destination. Let's start with the first slide.
What is tourism? Tourism is a social, cultural, and economic phenomenon which entails the movement of people to countries or places outside their usual environment for personal or business purpose. Tourism product refers to a combination of tangible and intangible elements, such as natural, cultural, and man-made resources, attraction, facilities, services, and activities around the specific center of interest, which represents the core of the destination marketing mix and creates an overall visitor experience, including emotional aspect for their potential customers.
Components of tourism product. 1. Attractions. Attractions are those elements which determine the choice of a tourist. They create a desire to travel, motivate to travel. Attraction compares natural attractions, man-made attractions, event attractions, burden attraction, cultural and social attractions, supplementary attractions. 2. Accommodations. Accommodation plays a vital role and basic to tourist destinations. The range of accommodation is quite varied and has undergone considerable change since the half of century. For the purpose of classifications, all tourist accommodation have been divided into two groups: service accommodation and supplementary accommodation. Service accommodations are the hotels, lodges, resorts, inns, etc., and they are operating as business enterprises and provide housekeeping facilities. Supplementary accommodations are not registered as tourism organization but provide accommodation facilities as camping grounds, youth hostels, etc. Number 3. Accessibility. Access is a subject of transport infrastructure and transport technology. It is a means by which a tourist can reach the area where attractions are located. It is related to the possibility to visit, to feel, to see, or to acquire the experience. If tourist destinations are located in places where no transport can reach or where there are adequate transport facilities, they become of little value. Accessibility is not to have any travel barriers. Number 4. Amenities. Amenities facilities are a necessary aid to the tourist center. Amenities are the facilities and services added with attraction, accommodation, and accessibility to create the tourism. Without amenities, a destination will be a place, accommodation will be a local hotel, a transport will be a local transport, etc.
Yogyakarta, the never-ending Asia.
Yogyakarta, together with its twin city Surakarta, is the cradle of civilization on Java.
The city is one of the foremost cultural centers of Indonesia. From strolling through the Living Museum of Kraton or the Kraton Palace, to hanging out at the famous alun-alun, to watching silversmiths produce amazing jewelry at Kota Gede, and maybe try a spurt shopping up at Malioboro Road.
Yogyakarta as a tourist destination. Yogyakarta, or sometimes people could pronounce or uncommonly written as Yogyakarta, or just Jogja, is a major tourist destination in Indonesia. It is the capital city of Yogyakarta Special Region, which is in the southern part of the Central Java province, Indonesia. Yogyakarta is bustling town of some 500,000 people and the most popular tourist destination on Java, largely thanks to its proximity to the temples of Borobudur and Prambanan, to offer some good shopping and has a wide range of tourist facilities.
The wonders of the ancient heritage. Tourism site or attraction in Yogyakarta Art City. These are some top recommended places to visit in Yogyakarta. The first one is Candi Prambanan. Prambanan Temple is a UNESCO World Heritage Site that consists of 240 temple structures, which represent the grandeur of ancient Java's Hindu art and architecture. Also considered as a masterpiece of the classical period in Indonesia. The second one is Jomblang Cave. Jomblang Cave is famous for the streaming heavily light that descends into the cave. The cave is said to have formed when a forest collapsed due to an earthquake, forming a 200-meter hole in the ground. Light penetrates directly over the cave hole at approximately noon. To get to the hole, you'll be dropped through a rope and pulley system approximately 90 meters down. The next slide is just a picture of the Prambanan Temple and the Jomblang Cave. The third recommended place is Taman Sari, a garden chateau with an elaborate series of swimming pools. This palace was built by the Portuguese when they briefly resided in Java, as a gift for the wife of Sultan Hamengkubuwono I. The castle is built in an architectural style loved by the Yogyakarta ancient loyalty and boasts not only the underground catacomb that's worth checking because of its magnificent view, but also it will give you an eerie experience. The fourth one is the Kraton Palace. Kraton of Yogyakarta is the city's palace complex and the main seat of the Sultan Yogyakarta and his family. It also serves as a cultural center with a museum for the Sultan's artifact. More of the world mini city than a palace. This massive compound is a home for 25,000 people and has its own industry, schools, and shops. The next slide will show you the picture of the Kraton Palace and the Taman Sari. The fifth one is the Kalibiru National Park. Kalibiru is a park organized by the locals that has blown up on social media for its dream-worthy landscape. The most distinctive feature is a small wooden platform overlooking the mountain and lush green forest below. Kalibiru is about an hour drive west of the city, near the Menoreh mountain range. And the last recommended place is Pinus Pangger. Pinus Pangger is a relatively new addition to the top places to visit in Yogyakarta. Pinus Pangger is just an hour drive from Yogyakarta city center. It is a cute and quirky forest theme park that has an interesting sculpture such as the hen, which is truly Instagram worthy and a great place to click a few memorable selfie and photos with your friends and families, especially during the sunset time. Though this place location is in outskirts of the city, Pinus Pangger is one of the best places to visit near Yogyakarta. The next slide will show you the scenery and the picture of Pinus Pangger and the Kalibiru National Park.
Why Borobudur is one of the main tourist attractions. Located on the island of Java, the magnificent Borobudur Temple is the world's biggest Buddhist monument. It's incredibly beautiful. The temple sits majestically on a hilltop overlooking lush green fields and distant hills. Built between 780 Anno Domini and 840 during the reign of Shailendra dynasty, the temple's design in Gupta architecture reflects India's influence on the region. However, there are enough indigenous scenes and elements incorporated to make Borobudur uniquely Indonesian. The temple has remained strong even though 10 centuries of neglect. It was rediscovered in 1814 under the order of Sir Thomas Stanford Raffles. In the 1970s, the Indonesian government and UNESCO worked together to restore Borobudur to its former majesty. The restoration took 8 years to complete, making Borobudur one of the most valuable treasures and a good citation that has to be visited when you are in Yogyakarta.
The next attraction that make Borobudur is attract a lot of tourists to visit the place is the Borobudur sunrise. The Borobudur temple is best seen at dawn, when the air is still fresh. As the sun begins to rise and you can see the beauty and the structure of the temple, and the sun scales the surrounding volcano and terrace fields. and highlights the stone relief and the many faces of Buddha. This is one of experience that people need to see when they visit the Borobudur temple. Borobudur Sunrise ticket offers a different experience where participants were given a special pass to enter the monument early in the morning at approximately 4:30 a.m. before the regular open time. It takes around 5 minutes walks from Manohara to Borobudur temple. Amazing scenery and peaceful morning at the Borobudur temple, especially when the sun would appear from the horizon, is a truly enlightening experience.
How to get there? So Borobudur Temple is 1 hour's drive from Yogyakarta. The easiest way to get there is by joining a tour or renting car or by bus. During your journey to Borobudur, enjoy the fresh cool air of Magelang City with its road lined with big shady trees. Borobudur itself stands tall against the spectacular backdrops of the Menoreh mountain range that surrounds it. Entering the temple compound is easy, and most visitors choose to wander around on foot. Alternatively, you can charter a horse-drawn carriage at a reasonable price. Those cruise passengers who disembark at Semarang can also take a day tour driving through Wonosobo to Borobudur.
The next slide is how Yogyakarta tourism impact for the society. For the local community that live in Yogyakarta, the tourism sector is an important contributor to people's livelihood and quality of life. Considering the significant contribution to tourism to businesses at national and local levels, this research on resident attitudes toward tourism development in Yogyakarta is profoundly important. Tourism can be a powerful economic pusher that can benefit the people of Yogyakarta. If tourism is properly managed, then societal welfare can improve with the lowest possible environmental and social costs. However, if tourism is poorly developed, then the resource-based use can collapse, and surrounding regions or even the entire country may suffer from the consequences.
So, in general, the local community living in Yogyakarta have positive attitudes toward tourism development. To ensure tourist satisfaction, destination must be well managed, and tourism should bring about economic benefit to the local community. But there are also some negative attitudes because there are feeling of uneasiness and uncomfortable about the large tourism development, especially around the areas. Some researchers investigated that the development of hotels and shopping centers in the last 10 years has impacted clean water scarcity and increased criminality and minimal access to public services due to tourism. These problems have emerged in Yogyakarta, especially to those living in the main tourism areas such as Prawirotaman, Kraton, and Malioboro, cited from Pizarro et al. 2002.
And the next slide is pandemic impact to Borobudur and other heritage sites. According to UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, 89% of countries have partially or fully closed their cultural heritage sites during the corona pandemic, causing millions of dollars in revenue losses for cultural institutions and museums. We have to work together with activists and professionals from all disciplines to protect these cultural heritage sites during the pandemic. Historians and archaeologists can do it on their own, said Restu Gunawan as Ministry Director for Cultural Development.
We all know that COVID-19 is taking the place now in our world. But I believe that COVID-19 is not forever and the tourism will be grow stronger than before the pandemic is. The COVID pandemic has impacted the tourism industry due to the resulting travel restrictions. There are so many restrictions when we want to go traveling. With a lot of people losing their job because of the pandemic, tourism industry has been massively affected by the spread of coronavirus as many countries have introduced travel restriction in an attempt to contain its spread. The United Nations World Tourism Organization estimated that global international tourist arrivals might decrease by 58% to 78% in 2002, leading to a potential loss of USD 0.9 until till 1.2 trillion in the international tourism receipts. In many of the world cities, plane travel went down by 80 till 90%. Conflicting and unilateral travel restriction occurred regionally, and many tourist attractions around the world, such as museum, amusement park, sport venue, closed. And UNWTO reported a 65% drop of international tourist arrivals in the first 6 months of 2020. Air passengers travel show a similar decline.
The next slide is the future of tourism industry after the corona pandemic. Even though the pandemic has made a lot of people stop traveling because of the regulation and also care for their own and their family safety, but remember is that people will continue to want to travel. And this drive to travel is likely to be even stronger after all the restriction from the government. The only real and fundamental constraint will be fear for one's health and that of others. And this thought led us to understand that people will undoubtedly be much more cautious. They will need to understand, but also to see in tangible way what will be done for their safety. Both transport companies and accommodation facilities will need to rethink their travel and accommodation policies in a substantial and above all credible way. When the recovery from this crisis is achieved, it will be important that all tourism operators in the sector share some practical principles that can help the entire tourism industry to recover. This new normality will have to include changes of all kinds, from hygiene measures and practices to new travel arrangements.
New normal and new travel experience. With the new normal, when we start traveling again, we will surely see some changes in our experiences to traveling, such as for the first one is airports and ports will have more security and screening. Like you have to bring your PCR test or antigen test, you have to wear a mask. And to ensure everyone's safety, travelers may have to face new types of screening to travel under new normal, such as temperature checks. Restaurant will also have stricter rules and regulation, not only for airports and hotel, but in all the tourism sector. And the second is mask and PPEs are required. Even when traveling is still not allowed during the pandemic, people are already required to wear face masks and personal protective equipment when going out to avoid getting or spreading the virus. And will be the main rule to travel under the new normal. Travelers will be required to wear face masks, while the flight crew and employees will have to wear PPEs, personal protective equipment, or we can say it like APD.
And the third one is there will be more expensive flight tickets. One of the industry that will greatly hit by the pandemic is the airline industry. Their operations stopped for months as traveling was restricted. While some continue to operate amid the pandemic, they have blocked off some seats on the planes or limited number of the tickets sold, hence resulting in drastically reduce the number of passengers that's allowed to enter the airplane and go traveling. The practices over the past few months are likely to shape the future of flying. This could mean a more expensive airfares. The fourth one is fewer crowds. In order to practice social distancing, the local government units and private business owners will have to limit the capacity of visitors to their iconic landmarks or their tourist destination. Therefore, expect fewer crowd when you are going traveling. And the last one is road trips and any trip closer to home will be more in demand. Because traveling abroad is and most likely will be out of the picture for quite some time because of the more rules and regulation if you want to use the airplane, road trips will be the answer to travel after the pandemic. Long distance trips will be put on hold for now, but traveling closer to home will be a trend.
And we travel to learn, we travel to escape, And we travel to find out more things that we can find in this world. We travel not to escape life, but for life not to escape us. Thank you for listening to our presentation, and I hope that you guys educated by our presentation. And thank you for Ma'am Dina for bringing us here as our lectures and for being a good lectures. Thank you everyone, and thank you friends. Have a good day. Bye.